Have you ever noticed how the more you share, the emptier you sometimes feel? Maybe you've told someone your dream, your plan, or even your struggle, only to be met with doubt, unwanted advice, or silence that left you exposed. In a world addicted to noise, the more you reveal, the more fragile your peace becomes. The truth is, there is strength in keeping certain things close. Mystery has a quiet magnetism. The one who speaks sparingly, who chooses the right moment instead of every moment, carries a presence that cannot be ignored. Silence protects your energy, shields your intentions, and gives you back control over what is truly yours. And in that space, influence grows. Stay with me, because in this video, we'll uncover why sometimes the most powerful move is simply to say nothing. Number 1. Power of mystery. Have you ever noticed how quickly the magic fades the moment you explain everything about yourself? The moment you reveal your plans, your struggles, or your victories before they have time to ripen, something precious slips away. We live in a world where people broadcast their lives in real time, where every meal, every thought, every half-formed dream is pushed into the open. And yet, in this constant noise, the rarest thing of all is mystery. The Stoics understood that what you choose not to reveal often carries more strength than what you do. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The more we value things outside our control, the less control we have. Our words, once given away, are no longer ours. What you keep within, guarded and silent, remains your power." Think of a figure who walked into a room and said little, yet everyone leaned in. Their silence was not emptiness, it was presence. Consider Steve Jobs. His secrecy before a product launch made the reveal unforgettable. Or imagine a young professional who says nothing about the promotion they seek, who works in silence and then suddenly appears in that new role. The surprise amplifies the achievement. Contrast this with the one who speaks endlessly of their plans. When success arrives, it feels smaller, expected, almost ordinary. But mystery is not only about how others perceive you, it is also protection. When you announce every move, you invite doubt, envy, even sabotage. Not everyone who hears your plans wishes you well. Some will quietly compete, others may obstruct, and a few will rejoice if you fail. By holding back, you deny them the tools to use against you. You also protect your own energy. Oversharing often leads to the burden of defending your choices to people who were never meant to guide them. Seneca warned that it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. Every time you explain yourself too soon, you waste energy that could have been spent building in silence. And so, mystery is both shield and sword. It guards you from interference, and it sharpens the impact of your actions when they finally emerge. In a culture addicted to noise, the one who speaks less commands more. People will remember not your constant words, but the weight of your silence. And when you choose to break it, your voice will carry a power few can match. This is the quiet advantage. And it leads us to the next truth, the discipline of silence itself. Number 2, master the narrative. Have you ever walked away from a conversation and felt as though your own words had been taken from you, twisted into something you never meant? It's a common wound in the modern world, where everything you say is quickly judged, interpreted, and reshaped by others. And this is why control of your own story is not a luxury, it is survival. The Stoics knew this well. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." To speak sparingly with intention is to protect both your peace and your power. Because once your words leave your mouth, they no longer belong to you. They can be reimagined, retold, and even weaponized. But when you choose carefully what to reveal and when to reveal it, you decide which version of your life reaches the world. That choice is the difference between being in control and being controlled. Imagine someone working quietly on a project that could change their future. Instead of announcing every detail, they simply say, "I'm preparing something important." Those few words plant curiosity without giving away ammunition. If the project succeeds, their silence magnifies the impact. If it fails, they are free to adapt without the burden of public judgment. Contrast this with the person who narrates every step aloud. Each change of direction becomes a broken promise, each delay an embarrassment, each doubt an opportunity for others to question their resolve. This is why transparency and vulnerability are not the same. Transparency is deliberate. It offers just enough truth to build trust, without exposing the parts of your life that are still fragile. Vulnerability, when careless, is an open invitation for interference, envy, and unsolicited advice. Seneca warned that much of life is wasted on what does not matter, and every time you explain yourself too much, you invite voices that cloud your vision and weaken your resolve. The strongest path is to reserve your energy for building rather than defending. To control the narrative is not to deceive, but to master timing. The right word, spoken at the right moment, can change how others see you entirely, and the silence before that word gives it weight. In this way, you remain the author of your life, shaping the story as it unfolds, rather than allowing others to write it for you. Hold your truth with care, release it with purpose, and let your actions finish the sentence. This discipline of restraint opens the door to something greater, the ability to shape perception not through noise, but through presence, and that leads us naturally into the next lesson. Number 3, silence as strategy. Have you ever regretted speaking too soon, saying something that later felt like handing someone a weapon they could use against you? We often think silence means weakness, hesitation, or even defeat. Yet the truth is the opposite. Silence, when chosen with intention, is one of the sharpest strategies a person can wield. It slows the pace of a world obsessed with speed. It clears the noise of a world addicted to chatter, and it gives you the one thing most people waste too quickly: control. The Stoics understood this well. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself not to be overheard complaining, because he knew that once words are spoken, they cannot be taken back. To hold your silence is not to do nothing. It is to act with precision. Imagine a tense negotiation. One side speaks with urgency, filling every pause with justifications and numbers. The other sits quietly, listening, nodding, letting the silence hang. The pressure grows unbearable, and soon the talkative side begins to reveal more than they intended: doubts, concessions, even their bottom line. All of it is given away, not because the silent person demanded it, but because they endured what others could not. The discomfort of quiet. Or consider a more personal moment. Someone hurls insults at you, waiting for a reaction. To answer back would be to legitimize their words, to descend into their arena. But by meeting their noise with stillness, you send a stronger message than any rebuttal could. Your words do not touch me. History is full of leaders who mastered this art, commanders who revealed their plans only at the decisive hour, allowing the enemy to exhaust themselves chasing shadows. Artists and innovators who worked in obscurity then shocked the world with results no one saw coming. Silence kept them free from interference until the right moment to strike. And this is not about disappearing or hiding. It is about choosing with care when your voice serves your purpose, and when it would only weaken it. Seneca wrote, "It is better to be silent and be thought a fool than to speak and remove all doubt." Strategic silence is restraint sharpened into strength. The more you practice it, the more you realize its weight. People will lean in when you speak, precisely because you do not speak often. Your words will carry authority, not because they are louder, but because they are rare. Silence is not absence. It is presence refined. It is the discipline to wait, to listen, to let others stumble into the gaps you leave open. And in a world where everyone fights to speak first, the one who knows how to stay silent wins the time to observe, to prepare, and to act when the moment is right. That is not hesitation. That is mastery. And it leads us toward another form of strength, the wisdom of choosing your battles. Number 4, results speak louder. Have you ever told someone about a dream or a plan, only to feel the excitement drain away the moment the words left your mouth? It's a strange feeling, as if by announcing it, you've already spent part of the energy that should have been saved for the work itself. This is why the Stoics often urged restraint, not only in action, but in speech. Seneca once said, "It is not what we say, but what we do that defines us." In a world addicted to announcements and declarations, there is a rare strength in remaining silent, working quietly, and letting the results carry the message for you. Think of an athlete training before dawn while no one is watching. He doesn't boast about the hours he spends in the dark gym. But on the day of competition, his body speaks for him. Or imagine a young entrepreneur who shares little about her new project. She listens politely when asked, but never reveals the details. Then, months later, she unveils something so polished and complete that everyone is caught off guard. The impact is doubled because it arrives without warning. What seemed like silence was, in truth, preparation. The psychology behind this is simple. Talking too soon tricks the mind. You feel the satisfaction of achievement before you've done the work, and that illusion can steal your drive. Silence, on the other hand, preserves your hunger. It keeps you rooted in action, not appearances. And when the result finally emerges, it silences critics in ways words never could. People can argue with your intentions, but they cannot argue with a reality that stands before them. From a Stoic perspective, this is the essence of controlling what is within your power. You cannot control whether others believe in you, but you can control your effort, your discipline, and the timing of your reveal. The one who talks endlessly seeks validation. The one who works in quiet builds credibility. Over time, people begin to associate your silence with strength. They come to expect that if you are saying little, you must be creating something meaningful. Letting results speak is not about secrecy for its own sake. It is about patience, restraint, and the confidence to know your work will carry its own voice. In the end, results are louder than speeches, more convincing than arguments, and more enduring than promises. When you master this, you learn that true persuasion is not in talking, it's in showing. And this lesson naturally leads us to the next truth: how to protect your energy by choosing what not to reveal. Number 5, protect emotional energy. Have you ever finished a day of talking, explaining, defending, and felt strangely empty, as if your mind had been spent on everything except what truly mattered? Emotional energy is a finite resource, and the world is always asking for more of it. The Stoics understood this with clarity. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Guarding that power begins with how you spend your attention. And often it starts with what you choose not to say. Because every conversation you enter, every argument you entertain, every update you broadcast takes something from your inner reserves. Picture a young designer working on a quiet passion project. The moment she tells a few friends, the feedback floods in, opinions, concerns, advice she never asked for. Suddenly she's no longer building, she's defending. Doubt creeps in, not from the work, but from the noise around it. Contrast that with the version of her who keeps her circle small, shares only when ready, and lets the finished piece speak. One path leaks energy through 1,000 tiny holes. The other preserves it for the moment that counts. Seneca warned that we waste much of life. We waste it too, in unnecessary explanations. Guarding your emotional energy is not coldness, it is discernment. You decide whose voices enter your inner room. Not every colleague, friend, or family member needs a seat at the table of your decisions. Some people will drain you without malice, others with intent, and both will leave you carrying a weight that should never have been yours. Boundaries, then, are not walls. They are doors you open with purpose. Sometimes, the most respectful answer to yourself is simple and sufficient. I'm not ready to talk about that yet. Practically, this discipline looks like choosing silence over reflex, pausing before you explain, and asking whether speaking will serve your long-term aim or merely soothe a short-term urge to be understood. It looks like tending to the habits that refill you: movement, reading, stillness, a walk without your phone, because resilience requires maintenance. Over time, you notice the shift: more focus for meaningful work, more patience under pressure, more clarity in decisions. You stop losing days to emotional skirmishes that never needed to happen. In the end, guarding your emotional energy is an act of self-respect. Your mind is your domain. Do not hand its keys to passing opinions. Protect it, and you do not merely preserve strength, you multiply it. With that strength reclaimed, we can turn to a complementary practice, mastering the timing of what we share and when we share it. Number 6. Power of listening. Have you ever sat across from someone who spoke endlessly, filling every pause with words, and yet when they were done, you felt they had said nothing at all? Contrast that with the rare presence of a person who listens deeply. They may say little, but when they finally speak, their words land with weight. In a noisy world, listening has become one of the most underrated forms of power. Epictetus once reminded his students that we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that we might listen twice as much as we speak. To listen is not to be passive, it is to gather strength before choosing the right moment to act. Think of a negotiation where silence stretches. Most people scramble to fill it, blurting out fears, doubts, even concessions. But the one who listens, calm and steady, collects every detail while revealing nothing. Or imagine a friend pouring out their struggles. You resist the urge to fix, to interrupt, to share your own story. Instead, you give them presence, and in that moment, trust is built, not because you offered answers, but because you offered attention. Listening uncovers truths people do not even realize they are giving away. Their tone, their hesitation, even the spaces between their words become clues. To the disciplined listener, these clues are gold. The Stoics valued observation above reaction. Marcus Aurelius wrote that most of what we say and do is not essential. If you can eliminate it, you'll have more time and more tranquility. Listening helps you eliminate the unnecessary by slowing your impulse to speak. It teaches patience, control, and the rare ability to hold silence without fear. Over time, this habit transforms you. people begin to view you as thoughtful, measured, someone worth trusting. And when you do speak, your words feel intentional, not impulsive. From a practical view, learning to listen more means asking questions and then resisting the urge to interrupt. It means noticing not just what people say, but what they choose not to. Sometimes the silence between sentences tells you more than the words themselves, and as you practice, you'll see the shift. While others waste energy trying to be heard, you'll be building influence quietly, gathering information, and protecting your own position. That is the true value of listening more. It raises you above the noise without ever raising your voice. If this resonates, comment a simple listen below. And if you want to keep walking this Stoic path together, remember to subscribe. The next lesson will take us deeper into the art of restraint. Number 7. Avoid envy. Avoid resistance. Have you ever shared good news only to notice a flicker in someone's eyes, something colder than celebration, something that felt like doubt or envy hiding behind a smile? Human nature is complicated. While some will cheer for you sincerely, others, often without even realizing it, begin to measure themselves against your progress. And when your growth highlights their stagnation, the discomfort often turns into subtle resistance. It may not appear as open hostility, but as quiet discouragement, small doubts slipped into conversation, or hidden actions that make your path more difficult than it needs to be. The Stoics understood this dynamic well. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The tranquility that comes when you stop caring what they say or think or do, only what you do." Envy is rarely about you personally. It's about what you represent, the risks they haven't taken, the discipline they haven't built, the sacrifices they weren't willing to make. Your progress becomes a mirror, and not everyone enjoys the reflection. By keeping your journey private, you remove that mirror. You free yourself from becoming the trigger of another's insecurity. And in doing so, you protect both your peace and your momentum. Consider a young professional in the workplace. She eagerly shares her idea too soon, only to face skepticism from colleagues and redirection from her manager. The idea falters before it has time to mature. Now imagine she had worked quietly, refining her concept in silence until it was strong enough to stand on its own. When she finally revealed it, there would be less room for resistance and far more respect. The same is true in personal life. Announcing every milestone can invite opinions that drain your confidence. Silence, instead, allows you to move without unnecessary friction. This is not about hiding forever. It is about timing your reveals. Privacy gives you the space to act without being slowed by comparisons, criticisms, or the weight of someone else's doubts. It allows you to build in peace and unveil only when the work can speak for itself. And when that moment comes, those who once might have resisted you have no choice but to acknowledge what already stands before them. Avoiding envy and resistance, then, is not cowardice. It is strategy. It is choosing to let your silence clear the way so that when your achievements finally arrive, they arrive unchallenged, undeniable, and impossible to ignore. And this leads us to the next principle, the discipline of timing, and why patience is a hidden form of power. Number 8. Withhold for timing. Have you ever felt the sudden urge to tell someone about a new opportunity, a fresh idea, or a small victory, only to regret it later when the excitement faded and the weight of opinions began to settle in? That fleeting thrill of sharing is seductive, but it is also costly. In a culture that glorifies instant updates and constant exposure, one of the greatest strengths you can cultivate is the discipline to hold back, to choose patience over impulse, to recognize that silence is not hesitation, but protection. The Stoics reminded themselves daily that emotions are not masters, but guests, and it is our role to govern them. Seneca once wrote, "It is quality rather than quantity that matters." The same applies to our words. What is said in haste often weakens us. What is said with restraint becomes unshakable. Consider a young man who receives news of a promotion. His first impulse is to announce it everywhere, to bask in the validation of approval. But by doing so, he exposes himself prematurely to envy, scrutiny, and pressure. Instead, imagine he holds the news close, continues to work with quiet focus, and allows the promotion to reveal itself naturally through his actions. The impact is greater, the respect deeper, because it wasn't sought, it was earned and then seen. This is the hidden strength of discipline. It delays gratification in order to protect momentum. Impulse thrives on emotion. It wants quick recognition, a fleeting sense of accomplishment. But discipline waits, and in that waiting, it builds something lasting. Modern psychology confirms what the ancients already knew. When you talk about your goals too soon, your brain rewards you as if you've already achieved them, draining the motivation to keep going. Silence maintains the tension between where you are and where you want to be. That tension fuels action, and that action creates results. Practically, this discipline shows itself in small decisions. You pause before posting the update. You wait until the ink is dry before announcing the win. You offer only what is necessary when pressed, keeping the fragile parts of your plans protected. Over time, these choices create a life where your words are intentional and your actions speak louder than noise ever could. In the end, discipline over impulse is not about suppression, it is about sovereignty. It is the refusal to let fleeting emotions dictate lasting outcomes. And in a world that celebrates noise and speed, the ability to move quietly with patience and purpose is not just rare, it is power. From here, we arrive at another truth, that real strength lies not in constant reaction, but in the composure to choose your response. Number 9. Freedom through privacy. Why do we feel lighter when no one is watching? Because privacy is not secrecy, it is freedom. To the Stoics, true liberty comes from living on your own terms, unshackled by the noise of others' opinions. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself to be satisfied with your own soul, and privacy is how we guard that space. When you keep parts of your life for yourself, you remove the constant need for approval. You stop performing for an audience and begin building for yourself. Think of someone who announced every plan to the world. The moment they wished to change direction, they felt trapped, forced to explain or defend. Now imagine another who kept their plans quiet, who failed in silence, adjusted in silence, and tried again, unseen. The second person grows freer, because their path belongs to them alone. Privacy gives you the room to stumble without judgment, to shift course without shame, and to succeed without interference. This is not isolation, but choice. You decide what to share, when, and with whom, and in that choice lies peace. Freedom through privacy is remembering that you don't owe the world your every move. You only owe yourself the chance to live authentically. Number 10. Long-term protection. Have you ever said something small in passing, only to watch it return months or even years later in a way you never intended? A casual detail about your past, a plan you thought was harmless to share, or a weakness you once admitted, suddenly resurfacing at the worst possible time. This is why silence and discretion are not quick tactics, but long-term safeguards. Each time you control what you reveal, you build a protective layer between yourself and the unpredictable reactions of the world. The Stoics warned that peace depends on what we keep within our power, and nothing is more within your power than your words. Once spoken, they belong to the world, open to misinterpretation, misuse, or even sabotage. A young professional who announces every ambition may find colleagues moving ahead of her or doubting her before her work matures. Another who waits, reveals only when ready, keeps her path clear and her opportunities intact. Silence in this sense is strategy. It keeps your life resilient against interference. Even relationships benefit from this restraint. Oversharing often invites opinions and expectations that strain bonds, not because others mean harm, but because you've given them access to spaces they were never meant to influence. By waiting until the right moment, you preserve trust and avoid unnecessary tension. In the long run, this habit becomes your quiet armor. People begin to see you as measured, steady, and trustworthy. Long-term protection is not hiding, it is choosing to play the long game. And over time, that discipline frees you from regret and keeps your path firmly in your hands. And this prepares us for the next lesson. Silence itself can become your greatest weapon in negotiation. Number 11. The pause of power. Have you ever noticed how silence in a tense room can feel louder than words? In negotiation, this discomfort is not a weakness, it is a weapon. Most assume the person who speaks most holds the advantage, but the truth is often reversed. The one who can remain calm, patient, and silent shapes the rhythm of the exchange. Negotiation is not only about terms, it is about psychology, and silence tilts the balance in your favor. Picture a discussion about salary. You state your number, then fall quiet. Seconds pass, and the silence grows heavier. To you it feels steady, but to the other side it feels endless. Their instinct is to fill the gap with explanations, concessions, even their true limits. You've revealed nothing, yet gained everything. Seneca once wrote, "Silence is a lesson learned through many sufferings." In the heat of negotiation, silence protects you from revealing too much and forces others to show their hand first. Silence also radiates confidence. By not overselling or justifying your position, you communicate certainty in your own value. That quiet composure makes others question whether they've underestimated you. But silence is not passivity, it requires preparation. You must know your goals, your limits, and your walk-away point before you enter the room. Used with intention, silence turns negotiation into a dance you lead without rushing. It is proof that power does not always belong to the loudest voice, but often to the one who speaks last, or not at all. And from here, we step into a deeper truth. The moments when silence itself becomes the message. Number 12. When silence speaks. Have you ever stood in the middle of an argument and realized that no amount of words would change anything, that speaking would only pull you deeper into chaos? In such moments, silence is not weakness. It is the strongest possible response. There are times when silence does not merely accompany your words, it replaces them entirely, becoming the message itself. And that message often lingers longer than anything you could have said. Imagine someone hurling baseless accusations at you. The natural instinct is to defend yourself, to explain, to prove them wrong. But in doing so, you give their words power. When you remain silent, calm, composed, unshaken, you send a clearer signal. You are not worth my energy. That refusal cuts deeper than any rebuttal because it denies them what they sought most, your reaction. Marcus Aurelius wrote of the value of remaining the same in the face of provocation. Silence is one way to embody that steadiness. Silence also amplifies presence. Think of a leader who commands a room not by speaking over others, but by standing still, watching and waiting. Their composure draws people in because it signals inner strength. In conflict, silence cools the fire. When tempers rise and words turn reckless, choosing not to speak allows space for reason to return. This is not avoidance, it is restraint with purpose, the discipline to act at the right moment instead of every moment. At times, silence is the way you mark a boundary. Stepping back from a conversation or relationship can speak louder than constant engagement. It says, "This is my line. I will not cross it, nor let you cross it for me." But here lies the difference. Silence out of fear is weakness. Silence out of choice is power. The strength lies in intention, in knowing that your quiet carries more weight than noise ever could. And in a world addicted to words, people will not always remember what you said, but they will remember the moment you said nothing, and the silence echoed louder than speech. From here, we move to another subtle form of communication. How silence, when combined with body language, can transform the way others see you. Number 13, silence and presence. Have you ever sat in silence, meaning to project strength, only to realize later that your posture or expression betrayed you? Silence on its own carries weight, but when paired with deliberate body language, it becomes a force that can shape how the world perceives you. People do not only hear your words, they watch your stance, your eyes, your smallest gestures. And when silence arrives, their attention sharpens, searching for clues in how you hold yourself. Imagine a man in a meeting who stays quiet but slouches, avoids eye contact, and fidgets with his hands. His silence will be read as insecurity. Now imagine the same man sitting upright, shoulders back, steady gaze, and a faint, knowing smile. He hasn't spoken a word, yet his silence radiates confidence. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." Your body is the canvas, and even in silence, it reveals the discipline of your inner world. This alignment is crucial in every sphere: negotiations, leadership, conflict. A composed pause with calm posture can make an opponent rethink their position. A leader's stillness in a heated room can restore balance more effectively than raised voices. In conflict, an open stance paired with silence can disarm anger without a single word. The Stoics believed that mastery of the self included mastery of one's outward reactions. To blend silence with body language is to externalize that mastery. It is not just choosing what you will say, but how you will appear when you choose to say nothing. When practiced, this turns your presence into a statement before you ever speak. And it leads naturally to the final truth. Silence itself is not emptiness. It is the space where power, clarity, and freedom are built. In a world addicted to noise, silence is your greatest strength. It gives you room to think, to protect what matters, and to let your actions speak louder than any words. You owe no one constant access to your life. Guard your plans, keep your peace, and let silence shape your presence. Comment, "Quiet power" below, and if this message spoke to you, subscribe to walk this path with us. Your calm is your victory, and the next lesson awaits.